Well, that's a bit embarrassing. I panicked just now. I thought my phone was broken. I thought maybe I'd sat on it or something. You no, you what you do is you press it down and you hold it and then it switches on. Oh God. You see, this is what the stress does to you. So when a warning word, I mean, obviously I'm not a medical person, I'm not a paramedic, but this just goes to teach you always have patience for people, because this is how people get dementia. When I even said to one of the paramedics about the Scottish woman who said to me 9 years ago, she said she was a elderly woman in her late 80s and she was caring for her son. You wouldn't know that he had acute mental health, and she's got osteoporosis in her hands, and she, as an elderly woman, was being forced to care for her son, which she shouldn't be having to do. And this Scottish woman, she had tears rolling down her face as she said to me, "This is how people go on to become murderers. They don't get the help they need." But I said to one of the paramedics that one of the most disturbing things that anyone has ever said to me was a hardened criminal at the Linwood Saffron said to me that it's nice people like you, honest people like you, good, decent people that end up losing it. You end up stabbing someone to death, going insane, because you've been so nice all your life and all this sort of thing. And he said, but me, I'm a hardened criminal. I've got self-control. Which just goes to show you that that horrible hotel guest who was harassing me whilst I was speaking to Walid the other day, a few days ago, he said it was a couple of days ago. He said, you need help with your mental health. I said, could you just leave me alone? It was like that idiot down at the police desk. He was doing exactly the same thing. It's like, just mind your own business. This is a place for people who are a victim of the narcissistic gang stalking, corruption, and crime. Real crime. Real crime. And that's what they want. They want a reaction so that they can point the finger. And yeah, so that's the point I'm making, really. Because this guy I think he's smoking cannabis outside as well. So they all smoke cannabis. I mean, I walked out of this hotel when Walid was going pulling faces in front of that young lad. I walked into the road and the atmosphere was filled with illegal drugs. I mean, I do remember that. In fact, one of the taxi drivers who wasn't happy about, he said, "Oh, he's trying it on with you." This foreign taxi driver, he said, he said, "Don't get out of the taxi right now." This was a few weeks ago. He said, I think there's some drug dealing going on outside." Now, I don't know what drugs dealing looks like, because I've had a very middle class, sheltered life in that respect. So, but apparently this hotel guest had said to me that Walid had said to him not to smoke cannabis outside, and he said, "Oh, I don't smoke cannabis." I think he probably does, because this man was acting very weird around me and saying, "Are you okay? Well, what's the problem then?" And I thought, "Bryony, be careful." And then when I came back into the hotel, he was saying, "Oh, you need medication, you do." I said, could you please leave me alone?" So, right, I'm going to put this on hold. My phone is working. So I'm under attack with all of this. and I'm going to wait for that phone call from Mr. Morrison. Just going upstairs. I went right to the top floor. I've been all around the hotel trying to find anyone who works here. There's no one in the office. The young lad that was in the young lad that doesn't speak English that well, who was in the office last night while Walid was laughing to him like this, and the boy was laughing back. It was so rude and disgusting. He was sat in his chair going, eh. Well, I've just gone up to the lad and I said, someone very important is going to phone me in a minute. The caseworker for my local MP is going to ring me any minute now. And he said to me, he said, Walid is the manager. I said, no, his manager. Now I'm now thinking, is this a case scenario like the Pier Hotel when that Pakistani guy who gave me his card and said, I'm the manager, this is my name, says manager on the card, and then he later told me to rip it up. No. I think people are just making things up as they go along. And there's me running around like a headless chicken. When was the last time you worked, Bryony? I'm on benefits and I've never worked so hard in my entire life, running around like a headless chicken doing everyone else's jobs. When I was a paid carer over 20 years ago, my life was laid back. Working for pittance, but I was content having a life with my mother. And now, this is what it's come to. Beatings, threats of prison over your free speech, and all this sort of thing, and anyway, so any minute now, Ewan is going to ring me. Ewan really needs to. I said there's a hotel guest here, and we both want to know who Walid's manager is. He doesn't want to speak to me. He doesn't have a phone number. Not making any sense, yet Walid said he mustn't speak to me, but he doesn't have a problem with me. There's no one in the office, no one here. This is what some of the reviews are like. There's no one here to deal with anything. So he's gone from saying, from when I first moved in, and it was so creepy. If there's anything you need, come to me. Is anything toilet rolls, towels, all accommodating? He took my things into storage last Friday. I've been here since January. They're just, these hotels and the council and the hellholes that they put you in, they can do whatever they like with you. And I'm saying, I'm done. No more. The guy from the but is that Ewan?
Hi, Bryony, how are you?
Ewan, I am in. Listen, I'm sorry I wasn't able to answer the phone to you. I don't know what happened. I think it went. It went to voice message. I'm in crisis. I thought that you hadn't bothered to phone me, and then I realised, I saw that. I don't know. God, there's something wrong with the phone. It cuts out. Sometimes it cuts out during important. I can't get through to 101. I have to ring 999. I can't get through to NHS 111. I have to ring 999 because the phone will say call held and then it cuts out. I don't know what's going on. But yeah, no, I'm sorry. I didn't realise that you had. I was so angry because I thought he's done it again. He hasn't bothered to phone me. And I'm sorry about that because I'm actually in crisis right now.
Don't worry. Can't help it if the phone messes up. So Okay, so you mentioned obviously your crisis. So do you want to
Yes,
update me on what's happened
yes,
most
yes.
recently? If we just
Oh
focus on
God,
maybe what's happened within the last
yeah,
couple of weeks,
yeah,
so you want to go first?
yeah. I haven't sent you an email. I haven't been able to sleep. I'm filthy dirty. I'm in a terrible state, but I'm trying. I'm not showing it, but I'm still in that suicide ideation state, and I'll explain why. Because I went up to Beachy Head in a suicidal state, crying, and I'm telling you, I haven't done that for a long time, and I'll tell you why. I've just gone right. I've just been going up and down the stairs saying, look, because there's a hotel guest who's very kindly spoken on my behalf. Not one of these funny ones here, not one of the drug using weirdos. Um, the one on the first floor, hotel guest on the first floor in room 111. He he's asked Waleed for the managers on my behalf, and Waleed is just playing. He's vile. He's a nasty piece of work. He's just proven himself to be very nasty, dishonest. He's exploiting me basically, and I'll explain why. I'd thank them very much. Right. So let me just, because I need to obviously take a deep breath here with this one. So, because I just asked the young lad, there's a boy here. He doesn't speak English that well, but he was in the office last night, and Waleed was sort of, oh, he was being really disgusting, not just rude, just nasty. Disgusting as in nasty, and sort of jeering and mocking and laughing to him. And I said something, and the boy, I said, "Ah, you do speak English?" Because he, and he looks no more than 15, I'd say. And I said, "Is that your son, Walid?" I said, "Because the way you're behave, because he was sitting in the chair going like this, and I'm not exaggerating." I said, "Is there something wrong with you? Are you all right?" I said, "Because you are acting like a little boy." And then he looked down. I shamed him because the way he's just treated me. Well, I'll explain. I'll explain because when he walked out. Right, okay. I'll explain what has happened. Excuse me. So, I just want to start by saying the reason the lady in the MP office, I phoned her 2 days ago in distress. This is before I went up Beachy Head crying because she's saying, it's not my, oh, it's nothing to do with me, and everyone's passing the buck here, and I was in a heightened state. I said, I'd been sexually assaulted. Nothing extreme, but it involves it involves physical contact with my bottom twice. Uh, so I'm too long in the tooth for this, but I'm I'm not distressed by that. It's what's then followed and what. Oh, don't. Anyway, so I'll just keep to the point here. So I said he wants me out of here on Saturday. I can't take it. This is, I'm gonna walk out. I actually went. Look. I'll get you the lady I spoke to in the MP office. I don't know her name. I mean, I'm already obviously I'm already feeling biting my tongue because for a whole year, with all due respect, I left voice messages and emails for everyone in the office, and then the next time I saw, was a year later, last month, when I went to that meeting, and I've still have never spoken to Mr. Berberundi, so I am bursting at the seams here. So, when that woman came up to me and she said, "Hello, Bryony," as if, and for a whole year, I don't even remember their names or faces. I only remember the name Inga. But I thought, you've all ignored me for a whole year. I've got all these issues, and I'm biting my. So that's when obviously I spoke to you. But since then, I've spoken to this woman who's sort of saying, well, wasn't you and meant. This was a week ago. You wasn't you and meant to ring you on the Monday. I said, I said, yes, he did, but he didn't ring me the next day when he said he would. So then I thought, obviously, I wrongly thought that you hadn't called me yesterday. Anyway, so to get to the point, sorry, I don't mean to. So that's why she advised, this woman had advised me to send you an email last week, just giving, because I have been, what I really wanted to tell you about the the thing that I really wanted to speak to you about. I can't speak to you about now because I'm in crisis, because it's all of these idiots, and I'm being polite with my words here. Because this involves the police, just psychopaths. Right, so I'm going to try and stay calm, because it's just one thing after another. I wanted to talk to you about these two lawyers that are being investigated for messing me around and lying, and involves the investigator of the legal ombudsman and the solicitors regulation authority, because obviously I had gone down to the police desk to Tracy with the injunction order prior to the meeting with Mr. Burundi in the Arndale, and she had told me to take that injunction order to. Now this has happened. They've now treated, it's disgusting. I'm not even safe to report a crime. Well, you already know that. So I just take a deep breath. Um, so in a nutshell, what has happened is, when I moved into this hotel, because as you know, the Pearl and Pebbles Hotel closed down in November, leaving me with nowhere to go. Adult social care didn't get back to me for months. I've just rung them in crisis. I've spoken to Mark, so he didn't get back to me for months. I've rung him and I've said what has just happened, and he still isn't doing anything. Victim support. I've had 3 lots of paramedics out to me. Police, same old, same old. No one doing anything. So I've had 3 last night. I'll get to that, because this woman from the crisis team, Natalie, who's seen me before, they had her on loudspeaker. She didn't want to hear about the sexual assault. So this is all very, very, very. I mean it, Ewan. I'm at the end of it. I'm at the end of it. So I'll get to. So everything that I wanted to talk to you about, I haven't been able to talk to you about because of all of what has just happened. So yeah, I mean, you honestly, they're literally killing me here. I'm done with this. So what has happened is, I know I keep saying this, and then I sort of go off track. So what's happened is, in January I moved here from the Shoreview Hotel, which was another hotel that closed down in January. So I had to move out of 2 hotels because they closed down.
So, sorry, so just got this right. So the hotel that you're currently in, that you've met,
That hotel before, but I had my things still in the room. I'd moved into the room but not used it, and because obviously a lot of hotels and places now, they have showers, which is really annoying because I love my bath. So I like to have a room with a bath. I always make that clear with a hotel. I say, well, do you have a room with a bath? So I left all my stuff in that hotel and came here to have a bath, because gosh, there's nothing else to live for. It's just, for me, it's a bath. I've got nothing else. So I like to have my relaxing, anyway. I don't need to explain myself to anyone. That's what I like. So I had my stuff still in that hotel, but I moved over here. There is, without being rude, there is a bit of a, because initially I was looking for a room, and the rooms that I was shown by this man I found online, because I've been looking for a room everywhere because the council have not acted by law. District Judge Harper, as you're aware of all of this. He told me
Yeah.
to go to the MP and the council, and they haven't done anything for me. So in the meantime, I have been looking for a room, but the places they showed me, oh my gosh, they were disgustingly grim. And I didn't, obviously, I didn't say anything. I just went, hmm, you know, and I thought, gosh, these are places where you'd kill yourself. They're that grim. They really are. I mean, I'm sure they've found a few dead bodies in these places. But so I thought, no, I'm sticking to a hotel room because if I can just try and, you know,
So when was this that you were showing these rooms?
this was back in January when the Shoreview Hotel had closed down. So I did go to a nice Japanese lady, but I was concerned because she was in Elms Avenue, and she's been to the mayor because I said I didn't want to say too much because I didn't want her to tar me with the wrong brush, if you know what I mean. Because I said I hinted at being in that hellhole because that hellhole in Elms Avenue where that woman came in covered in blood and all these, oh, yeah. Well, ironically, in 2019, when I was in that council hellhole in 2019, I came to this very hotel in 2019 just to have just to get a break from it. It was just £20 a night, and there's a member of staff here. Well, Waleed is saying that they're not staff; they're just his mates. I said no, he is a member of staff because that man that I spoke to in the street the other night, uh, about what has happened here. In 2019, he told me that they were having to close the hotel down for asylum seekers, quote unquote, and me and other Indigenous people, well, at least one person from Kent, was the council wasn't helping him because he had to go and sleep in his car, and he said his mother was dying. So, I said that man that you're saying is not a member of staff, because he's saying that, oh no, it's just me. They're my mates. They're your mates. What, the man who gave me a plate of food? I said he was kind to me. I was very right. Sorry, I know you don't know what's happened, so I'll explain. So I was on the first floor. I'd come from across the road to this hotel in January to have a bath, and I had a little chat with. I said, "Oh, because it was the guy across the road, the man that this man online who has rooms in Eastbourne had taken me to the on the desk, um had shown me some rooms at that hotel and said the best we can do is 850 a month. And I thought, well, I anything I realised that anything up to £1,000 should be okay because the universal housing element will cover it. So um and I've spent a few nights here, and I hadn't seen Darren, my partner, for months, and we finally regrouped. He stayed with me in that room just for a while, and you see, we're always I'm always in this loop with him, like you've got to be behind everything and all this sort of business, and because I'm in a perpetual state of trauma over everything that's happened. Anyway, the long and short of it was, um he got upset. He said, look, we've got to finish this. This is, I'm not. And he and I was crying, and I was saying, look, I've got these gifts I've had for you for a couple of you never gave me a birthday card. That woman in Wales who was meant to email you on my behalf, and you said you never got the email, she gave me a birthday card. So yeah, anyway, he stormed out, and I was worried that our little disagreement, I say little disagreement, he screamed quite loudly. I reacted, and I thought that because we don't need this. We don't need other people hearing this. And I then and then what concerned me, so this was last month. I was on the first floor. I'm now on the second floor. um this Walid, who seems to be the only person here, he said to me, I didn't like what he was friendly. He said, "Can I help you?" He said, "So your partner's not coming back, is he?" um and I thought that's a bit personal. I don't like to, I just gave him short answers. I didn't want to say too much. Your partner's not coming back then, this sort of thing. Are you Oh, he was really helpful then. Notice how he's really helpful then. Now that my partner stormed out, can I get you anything you need? Anything you need? Towels, tea bag, the usual. Come here, anytime. Ring me, text me. You want anything, come to me. So, I didn't want to say too much. I'm being very careful about what I do and don't say, because this is why people, when they take advantage, you know. And I said to him, I said, um, uh, oh, I brushed over what the police said. I said, I've got a landlady in contempt of court, and I said, and I made it into a sort of a laughy thing, like rolling my eyes, saying, "Oh, what the police did to me," over a voluntary interview. They stormed into the Strand Hotel, because I won't call my sister a man, blah blah blah. I said, and at that time I thought I think maybe he's Arabic or something. I don't know. I said, "Well, welcome to life in the UK now. Your free speech is being taken." So I sort of made a light of it, and you know, and I didn't want to say anything else about myself. I just said, well, I might have said I have a landlady in contempt of court, but I didn't want to say anything else because it's no one else's business. Just make it, because he said, relax, relax. I said, well, I've lost a lot of blood. I don't have a doctor's surgery. I was aware that the lift wasn't working, and but I really wanted a bath, and the hotel room was cheap compared to all the other hotels, you see. So that's why I'm here. If you do see what I mean, I'm here because it's one of the cheapest hotels, and I want a bath. So but the annoying thing is that, unlike the hotel across the road, the lift doesn't work. Now, I, I don't want to complain too much. I don't want to say it, because when you're extremely vulnerable and you're traumatized, by what the police and the council have done to me, these horrific things, beaten me, injured me, and doing nasty people everywhere. I'm I'm overly being overly nice to people, if that makes sense. So what I'm trying to say is, I'm frightened in the sense that I don't know what people are going to do next. So anyway, so he made a comment to me. This was last month. He made a comment to me, a flyaway comment, which I didn't like. It was inappropriate. It's classed as sexual harassment, because he said, when I told him I'd lost a lot of blood, and I said, I don't want to be graphic, but I said, I've got women's problems. I said, well, there you go. I said, I'm severely anemic and it could be life threatening. I really shouldn't. I said, I'm sorry. I shouldn't really have said that to you about the women's problem thing. I said, I shouldn't really be saying that. But sometimes my loose, I just said it. And it was what he then said that was inappropriate. He said, "Oh, sex is good. Sex will help you," or something. I thought, oh gosh, ugh. So I pretended not to understand his accent, and then he said it again. ugh. So I thought, just ignore it, Bryony, shut it out the way you have to. That's my coping mechanism. Disassociate, pretend it's not happening. I can now go back to so I'm trying to shut everything out. Anyway, he said to me, I've got a bigger room for you. Because he said to me, he saw the food everywhere in the room, and he said, because it's on the windowsill and all these bags of food. He said I could put a fridge in here. This was the first floor, and I asked him again about the mini fridge. He said, but there's no room in here. I said, oh, but you said, I said I can move some space. He said, I tell you what, this was last month. He said, I can put you in a bigger room. Oh, okay. I'll show you the room. I said, yeah, I'd like to see it, please. The only thing is it's upper floor. I thought, oh no, because the lift isn't working. Um, well, I said the thing is, for me, I want a bath, and it's, the moving around thing. I don't want to be moving around. He said, yeah, it's got a bath. So he put me in this room on the second floor, and I've got my room with a bath, so I'm happy with that. And he put a fridge in here, not a mini fridge, a big fridge. I mean, not a fridge freezer, but a fridge, not a mini fridge, a standard sized fridge. So I thought, well, that's something, isn't it? I don't have to worry about food going off and the milk and everything, because people are not in my position. I'm 43, nearly 44. I should not be, you know, but then, I'm a refugee in my homeland. I'm a second class citizen here. So, I finally got a fridge, But for me, this is a hotel, but it's my home. I've got no home. So I'm homeless, but this is my home. Now, this is exploitation, Ewan, because what has just happened is deep breath. Um, Now, I just want to say one of the reasons why I've become accustomed to being in a hotel room. I can shut the world out. I've got my own bathroom. I don't have to deal with idiots. Do you know what I've just brought? I even bought a brand new mop and bucket just a few days ago so I can clean it all up. He lets me use the Hoover. Now, what has happened is last Friday, this was the day that I reported sexual assault to the police. Prior to that, leading up to that, by a hotel guest. I just want to make that clear.
Yeah, and you know who that hotel guest was? Is it the same guy that you said that Willie said was a friend or somebody else?
No. I felt safe. I felt he actually even said to me that when he was in the laundry room that he didn't want to sort of bother me. He could tell that I was sort of he, like, I don't know, anxious or something, and he didn't want to bother me. He said I said yes, I had a feeling that you might have, you know I could picked up on, and I said I felt that I could say this to you. I just had this feeling that because I said you're not like that other hotel guest. I said there are some nasty people in these hotels, and there's a lot of drug use. I mean, you have to go. I mean, there was a taxi driver who was concerned about me because he didn't like the sound of Waleed when I told him what he'd said. He said, "Oh, he's just trying it on with you." He said, "Oh, just stay in the car a minute because I think there's some drugs dealing going on here." Now, Alan, I'll tell you about Alan because Alan knows Josh Buberendi. Apparently he said to me he's one of the most well connected people in Eastbourne. He said he knows lords and ladies. His father was a high ranking Freemason who had to stop Princess Margaret from marrying Peter Townsend. He showed me the photos. He knows about the drugs in Eastbourne. because I want to tell you about Alan, because he thinks I've got a problem with the Liberal Democrats. No, I haven't. I just want to know who will just do anything, because I wanted to, I'll get to that bit in a minute, because I left a voice message for him in distress when the police were at the police desk causing me. Well, I'll get to that bit in a minute. So so anyway, sorry, I don't want to jump all over the place, because people, I understand why people have trouble listening to me, because I do jump from one thing to the next. So to keep on track, what's happened is, I'm sorry it's taking a long time to say it. Um last Friday, um uh he in I think it was in the morning. I think it was in the was or it might have been morning or early evening. I can't, I can't remember now. It was morning or early evening. I can't remember. Walid had come in to just check everything was all right, because I said he was even going to put a wardrobe in here for me, because he said I think that would be better for you, because he was looking at where stuff can go, and he's let me use the Hoover, so you know he's been very accommodating, and I've been very, very appreciative and polite to all of the staff, because that's how I am. It goes without saying. Even when someone is saying something inappropriate to me, because the thing is, you, and did I tell you about this woman at Leaf Hall? I got her. Yes, I did. This woman, I got her leaflet from the job centre. She helps victims of the Ukrainian war and domestic abuse victims. Well, this woman, I was even telling Tanya, the Beachy head chaplain, this. She she doesn't mince her words. She described Caroline Ansell as an effing bitch. Well, I said, well, I mean, I wouldn't use words like that. I don't use bad language in general, because I don't, and I don't condone it. But um, all I can, but I'm sort of like, yeah, I appreciate this honesty, because Caroline Ansell had ignored a very crucial witness statement email from a cancer patient who is now dead, who witnessed me being attacked at Belmore Road by these convicted criminals, one who was mentioned in the national news as mugging the elderly with her mother. This same cancer patient, the crisis team were criticising me when I had Juliet with me, the cancer patient, the now deceased cancer patient. And I said, "Oh, she should be here in A&E." I said, "She's here because you won't do anything. I feel bad that she's here. Don't you tell me that she shouldn't be here. She's here to support me, because she was there when I was locked out of my SDR living flat on news that my father had died, and the trained lunatics, I could have got trained monkeys, they locked me out in my nightwear, and the mental health nurse, what's her name, Twiggy, Dr. Singh said that this Twiggy, I spoke to Twiggy, and I'm boiling with anger, because, well, anyway, I don't, all about that, so I won't drag all of that up again, because, yeah, all the horror stories with that. Anyway, so see what I do. I tend to go off on tangents. I'll try and keep to the point if I can, because it's very emotional, all of this. So, um, what was I saying? So, yeah, so this woman from Leaf Hall, she helps domestic abuse victims and victims of the Ukrainian war. I got her leaflet from the desk. When I was on the first floor, back in January, I left her voice messages, and she left voice messages for me. She sounded lovely. Oh, darling, calling me darling. Now, she changed towards me. She, this is why I wait for people. People change very quickly. It's like this landlady that that's friends with the property managers that were protecting these criminals. I'd never met this landlady before, and I learned this later. She wanted to help me write a book. Now she should be in prison. She's stolen my valuables, and she's a retired hospital matron from the Princess Royal whatever hospital in Brighton, you know. So there's a lot of nasty people who want to. So I'm very wary of women because I know what I've got a problem with women who. This is why I like this woman, this beachy head chaplain. I've got good vibes about her. She's not like that. I just know that she wouldn't behave like that. Tanya, that's my eldest sister's name actually. Um, so I've had to deal with a lot of very nasty people, but this Jane from Leaf Hall, I at least appreciate her honesty. Now she told me to tell Walid to F off. She said he shouldn't be talking to you like that, you know, saying, you know, sex is good. And I said, I just, no, I don't do that. I don't talk to people like that. She said, well, you should learn to. Can you imagine if I told Walid to F off? Now, the paramedics understood it. They were like, no, no, these young ladies. I mean, Jane should know better. She's like in her 60s. She's up 20 years older than me, and I've got these young ladies, these paramedics. See, they get it. They said to me, no, no, because to some extent you're under his control. I said, exactly. These were the paramedics that were here last night when Natalie from the Blue Light, because they got me speaking to the Blue Light thing up on Beachy Head the night before, and now this Natalie who's seen me before, she didn't want to hear about the sexual assault. It's just ridiculous, all of this. It's ridiculous. So anyway, this I never took Jane's what's her name? Claire, sorry, Claire from Leaf Hall. I never took her advice because, as I said, I wouldn't tell anyone to F off. I never saw her again because she turned a bit funny with me. I was running late the second time I was meant to see her, and she said, "You've had all day to get ready. I'm the one who has to pay rent for this place." And honestly, I could have hung up on her at that point. Now I've since left a voice message for her in distress over what's just happened. I'm I'm tearing my hair out. There is just no one anywhere who will do anything. I mean, this man from victim support yesterday, he was more concerned that I had used the wrong words because I said transgender thingy, something I don't understand. I thought, oh, here we go. So he's the one who called the paramedics out to me last night. So, you know, three lots of paramedics out to me. I'm still in a suicidal state. And sorry, I'm jumping. I'm jumping. I need to tell. I still haven't told you what happened. So on the Friday, last Friday, what? Sorry, can you still hear me?
Yes.
Sorry, I'm sorry. It's only because there was a noise in the background. Walid came.
Well, David, I think it's in a different room, so I'll just close the door. I was just like, if you pick it up on that.
Oh no, it's okay. Sorry, I'm just easily distracted. Sorry. Um, it's okay. I just wanted to make sure that you could still hear me. Sorry. I don't want to keep because I'm not sleeping. I've got a filthy bed. I've got filthy clothes. I mean, I literally threw on filth. So anyway, because I've just been endlessly repeating myself to people, and it just goes nowhere. So I just that's why I just wanted to make sure that you could still hear me. So anyway, so last Friday, Walid came in here and said, you know, checked up, made sure is there anything you need, blah de blah blah. Well, and I didn't want him to I didn't want him to sort of be in here too long because you know this is my personal space. I didn't want him to look at my stuff and because it's embarrassing anyway. because the room is, I'm trying to get settled. I'm just trying to relax. I'm trying to organize myself. I'm literally just trying to function. Darren leaves me for months and months and months, and he just sends all these text messages saying, I'm going to come down, I'm going to come down, and I don't see him for months. It's not fair, because he's saying he's struggling. Do you see how do you see how ridiculous all of this is? Everyone's just neglecting me and abusing me and gaslighting, and I'm thinking, well, okay, I understand Darren's struggling. I'm praying for him. He preaches to me. I said, you don't need to tell me, Darren. I'm praying all the time. I'm praying for me. I'm praying for you. I've prayed for my hedge of protection, and now this has happened. So anyway, sorry to get. It's very emotional. All of this. It so because I'm dealing with all of this on my own. I'm chasing up these lawyers that are, oh, Ewan hasn't phoned me. Well, if you don't get the case now, that Friday, I'd been given a deadline to get, as it was, I was given a deadline to get the very case file that they were supposed to get for me. I've recorded the director of this law firm copying Mr. Holden because I knew something was inherently wrong. I wanted to tell you all about that because the case file that Mr. Holden had, 3 times you mediated with him and 3 times he was rude and hung up on me because he's just, the man is the man is vile, demented. So they still haven't retrieved the case file from him. What I don't know what is going on with this landlady who's meant to have gone to prison. Because I've still got the email that says, I've got full legal aid certificate to commit her to prison. The police have done what, because it's like you apologise to me for how I've been treated, and then the police are bursting in and grabbing me, bruising me. Kelly J. Keane from Let Women Speak. I went up to her with the bruises. I went up to Hyde Park. She didn't want to know. And I was bullied by her and that Irish woman. So, do you see what I mean, Ewan? I'm running around. I'm thinking, is there anyone I can actually turn to? And it's now got Let Women Speak, but not Bryony. So I got I've got no friends or family, so that's why the only person who's really actually genuinely concerned about me is Tanya, the Beachy head chaplain, because she went up to the Beachy, she went up to the paramedics and she said, Bryony, she's saying she's going to come back up here to do herself in. So, like I said, it's a waste of time, you, and they're pushing me to suicide because they get a third lot of bloody paramedics out, and Natalie from the crisis team doesn't want to hear about this sexual assault. So I'm still feel, and the paramedics have said, well, we've got to go. I said, yeah, well, it's fine, you have to do what you have to do. It's a waste of time. So I've been left. So sorry, I know I keep doing it over and over again. I'm sorry. I'll just try to get back to it on point. So last Friday when as it was, there was a 4 o'clock deadline for the case file. This woman from the law firm PIO Legal Services, she's given me up until 4 o'clock last Friday before closing my case, and they've had all year to. We've tried to get it from Mr. Holden. Do you see what I mean? This is a notoriously corrupt solicitor marrying on YouTube the elderly fraud investigator who exposed him for 16 pages of corruption and sexual harassment. She, according to her neighbour, I had a cup of tea with her neighbour. She's been committed, so she's been sectioned, probably for speaking the truth, like John Alexander Patterson from the Royal Commission. So I'm actually really frightened because I think they could do anything to me. But I've done it again. Sorry. So getting back on track. Last Friday, when I was tearing my hair out over the deadline for this case file with Mr. Holden, um, uh, Walid was trying to help me, saying, "What do you need?" I said, "I got some bags," and I said, "Could you take these into storage for me?" So he said he was a bit reluctant. He sort of wanted to, but sort of didn't. Um, so he did. He did. I said, "Oh, well, it would really help me." He said, "You could put them under your bed." I said, "Well, I want to free up space for other things to put under there." So, um, so he took those into storage for me, gave them to the room assistant, and then and then yeah. So and he did this thing where he pinched my cheek as well, and which I didn't like, but I didn't say anything. I just flinched. He did it another time and I didn't say anything. And well, anyway, that's obviously the way he is. Later on that day, last Friday, um, I was in the laundry room because I'm always doing laundry, trying to keep on top of it. And that's where I met this this hotel guest from room 111. I had been, by the way, I had been in room 110. Um, I had actually been next door to where he is. I don't know how long he's been staying for. I didn't ask him. Maybe he was next door to me when last month. I don't know, but he's leaving on Sunday. Um, anyway, so sorry, I'm doing it again. Stick to the point. So, I came out of the laundry room last Friday, and one of Walid's employees here very kindly, they were having food. They had a table downstairs outside the laundry room. They were eating, and one of the men said, "Would you like some food? We've got loads left over." I said, "Oh, that's really kind of you." And he gave me a whole plate of, he gave me some kebabs and rice. And here, he said, "Oh, let me just put some salad with that." Oh, I said, "That's lovely. Thank you so much." So they've been really accommodating and kind. That member of staff is the one that I want to talk to because he seemed to be really listening to me when I was complaining to him about Walid. Now, that young lad last night, that young lad, I thought if I could get, but there's no one in the hotel to, if I could get you to speak to someone, because I was going up, before you phoned me, I was going up and down the stairs, seeing if I could find someone for you to speak to, because as I said, that hotel guest has said, sorry, I'll just finish what I'm saying because I'm jumping. It'd be best if I just finish what happened on Friday. So 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 I had my plate of food and went back down to get my laundry. I had some something in my hand. I had some washing bits in my hand, a bottle of Unstoppables, and and I was walking up the stairs. This is later on in early evening, I'd say, early evening Friday, last Friday. And I was walking up the stairs. I had my hand on the landing because it's exhausting going up and down, 2 flights, and also into the basement. So I was hanging on to, I was just I sort of like leaned over the railing, sort of like, shattered, exhausted. Because that's my struggle. I'm struggling going up and down the stairs because of the anemia. That's part of the, I've got it in writing from Dr. Webborn that it could be life threatening if I get heart palpitations. And because he even said to me, do you get out of breath? But I hadn't realised that it was because of the loss of blood and the anemia at that time. But now I realise, and I am very, very pale. So anyway, yeah, no, this young lad, he said to me, "Are you all right?" I said, "Oh, I'm just shattered going up and down the stairs." He said, and he made a joke. He said, "Do you need help? You need a man to help carry that thing." And I said, "Oh, very funny, you know, because it was just a bottle of Unstoppables." And when I came out onto the second floor, and I noticed that he went to walk into room 2210, which is where the CCTV is, and carried on walking down to my room. And he followed up behind. He walked up behind me, and I was about to put my key in the door. My room is room 2205, and I said, "Oh, I wish they'd fix the lift," you know. And I sort of, you know, I that in a sort of, you know, that's what I'm like with people. I sort of chuckled and went to, you know, wish they'd, oh, you know, fix the lift. And as I turned to put my key in the door, and that's when he touched my bottom, but he did it in a very discreet way. You know, it wasn't like a pinch or anything. It was very um, discreet. But I knew you know, it's one of those things where you go, I know what's just happened. How do I react? And I paused and I sort of turned my head, and then he went through the fire exit. Uh, went to open the door to the room in the. Apparently, he had friends in there, and then he immediately came back through the fire exit, looked at me, and went to touch me. And as he went to touch me, it happened so fast because I went, "You've just assaulted me," like that. Because I realised what he was doing. He was coming back for a second opportunity, and he went, "No, I haven't." So I just, oof. Anyway, I'm too old for that. It wasn't traumatic in that, well, you know, I'm it's the sort of thing that happens to me. Me and my late mother had this as children, you know. My mother would be 88, you know, we're used to being exposed to being touched up, flash. My mother used to get flashes on the subway in New York. And I've had it. I've even had it at the Sovereign Centre. I've been exposed to, and whatever. It doesn't. So you know, it wasn't. You know, it it's no big deal in that. You know, I actually played it down to PC Craft, who came into my room. I said, "Look," she said, "Well, the thing is, there's no CCTV where you." Because what happened was, before she turned up, I went into I went to make the phone call to the police in the office with Waleed. I said, "I'm struggling to get through to," I said, "I don't know why. I can't get through to 101. The phone cuts out and I have to ring 999, who put me through to 101. It's the same with NHS 111. It comes up with call held and then it goes beep beep and cuts out. So it's like my phone is bugged. I actually had someone from Citizens Advice Bureau a few years back say to me, "Does this happen to you quite a lot when the phone cut out?" I said, "Yes. Why? Is this like a weird thing that happens to certain people?" You know, I don't know. I don't know. But anyway, I was in the office, and I and Waleed was showing me the CCTV on the screen, and he said I said I said, why did he go in that room and then go down there? He said, "Well, he's in that room, but he's got friends next door to you." I said, "Oh, okay." So I said, "Oh, you all you can see is the bit where you can see me pointing my finger at him, but because it's down the other end." So the CCTV camera is where his room is, but you can't see the incident. I said, fair enough. It's no big deal. It wasn't anything, traumatic. It was just a hand on the bottom and, you know, you know, like a soft touch. Ugh. Anyway, so anyway, what I was a little bit annoyed because while I was making the call, he went, relax, relax, and he very lightly tapped my knee. And I said, very politely, I said, oh, could you not do that, please? I mean, to be honest, I, him pinching my cheek is worse. I don't like people. I don't even like women touching me. I don't like people touching me. But I wasn't rude. I was very polite. And, I'm very careful with how I say things because I don't want people to, you know, I don't want to make other people feel uncomfortable. So I'm very careful with how I say things. I mean, even when I demonstrated with Tanya, the beachy head chaplain, I went to tap her knee to demonstrate, and I said, "Oh, sorry, do you mind me? I don't want to touch you and make you feel uncomfortable." But anyway, yeah, I'm very hyper vigilant about these things because of everything that has happened to me. But I'm not bothered by the incident. It's how I was then treated by the police. So anyway, we waited for the police to. I was while no while I was on the phone to the police, this young lad walked past the office, looked in, then his mates came out and they started like sort of having a go. And I said, excuse me, could you just leave it? I don't know who you are. One of his mates said, oh, sorry to use the language. He said, in your fucking dreams. I said, could you just? I don't know who you are. Could you just leave me alone, please? My dad's gonna come down here. So I thought, well, I guess by their accent they're not local. But anyway, so yeah, so the long and short of that was PC Craft turned up. One female officer spoke to me in my room. She said, "We can't get the evidence." Yeah, fine, that's fine. I understand it. We've got it on the system. I said, "Well, at least you've got it on record because you know, if someone a lot younger than me, a young girl, and he went to." I said he's an opportunist because he got away with it. Then he came back towards me, looking at me, touch. So yeah, so I don't want it to happen to someone else. So fair enough. Um, so you know, it, I said I'm too old for this. I don't need it. So, but it's fine. It's all done and dusted. Um, I did say to PC Craft, I think it was at that point I did say to her that, and I didn't feel comfortable saying it. I said that Walid had said something that I didn't quite like, and I don't know if this was before or after the police officer turned up, but when I finally managed to get Darren back on the phone, I was saying to him, "Can you please explain to Walid that this is?" Because I had him on loudspeaker. I said, "Can you explain that what he's just said to me is not appropriate?" Because Walid said to me, "Well, he feels something for you." That's actually what he said to me. I said, Walid, I've been sexually assaulted. That's a serious crime, and you're saying to me, "Well, he feels something." And so that I had at this point I had Darren on loudspeaker. I said, "Can you tell him that that's just not what you say?" And so Darren's he's not very forthcoming, but he said on loudspeaker, he said, "Well, when you yes, it's not appropriate, when you touch a woman, you know, it's her space, and it's the same for a man. You know, it's like having to explain something to a child, isn't it, that doesn't understand. So anyway, a little bit later on, um, now this is where what has put me in this state, this state, right? Because it's just been one thing after another. I mean, I can't even believe that I'm having to go through all of this. I could get a child to help me, but I am dealing with adult. There just aren't any adults anywhere. So excuse me for, but I'm going to get quite emotional about this. So Waleed showed me a room downstairs in the basement while I had Darren on loudspeaker, and I said, he said, I've got a bigger room for you. Oh, you know, here we go, a bigger room. So he'd already moved me from the first floor to the second floor, saying he had a bigger room. So why is he then saying to me, taking me downstairs to a bigger room? So they've got all these rooms, and I was expecting it to have a bath because he knew that the reason that I only came here because I wanted a bath. So now it's like musical chairs. So he said, I've got a room downstairs. I said, I was very polite. I said, Darren, it is bigger. And then he said, oh, it's got. I said, oh, but it's got a shower. And I didn't want to be rude. I said, look, Wally, thank you very much, but I I'm happy with what I've got. I've got a room with a bath. See, I can't understand why he moved me on to from the first floor to the second floor when this room is not bigger, but he's put a fridge in here, and I've had to give him things of mine to take into storage, which he did last Friday before I was sexually assaulted. I've got my bath. I just want people to just leave me alone. Either help me or leave me alone. What he then did then caused me more distress because he said if you don't take the room in the basement, then um my boss he say that you we're fully booked. I mean, crumbs, you can already, if you've got any common sense, you can see he is just talking, to be polite, BS. And even Tanya, the beachy head chaplain, she knows he's lying because he's now saying to me that he wants me. We're fully booked. He sent me a sarcastic before I rang the MP office in a heightened state. What caused this was he had sent me a text message saying, sarcastically, obviously, saying, hope you've enjoyed your stay. We're going to need you to check out at 11 a.m. on Saturday. I was in a heightened state. I couldn't believe I actually got through to anyone in the MP office. That woman who said, I'm not it's not my problem, do. I said, now this has happened. Oh, Ewan will phone you. So I threw on some dirty clothes, which I'm still wearing dirty clothes. I haven't been able to use my bath bombs, and I just want to. I, do you know, honestly, Ewan, I even bought a lamp for this room. I've been replacing some of the things that this landlady has stolen that is being sent to the hotel. She's stolen my. I mean, oh right, because I'm going to get so angry talking about what then happened. I'll just take a deep breath. Right, um, so I've been given an ultimatum that if I don't take the room in the basement, they're fully booked. He sent a text message saying we're fully booked. Rubbish. Absolute rubbish. That's the whole reason why I've been paying weekly. He said, do I want to pay monthly? There's someone below me who lives in the hotel, who works, he goes to work. He had the nerve to say to me that I was causing, that I was well, don't get me wrong, of course I can understand why he complained because I would do the same. I was disturbing him, but I was on because I had Darren on loudspeaker. I said he doesn't. pardon me, he wants me out of the hotel. The if I, sorry, yeah, no, that's okay. Yes, yes, sorry, thank you. So what? Now I said I'm in distress because you've given me an ultimatum to take the hotel room or leave, and then I said I'm in distress because of what you've said, and you're saying that there's a man below me who goes to work in the morning who's complained about me. I said, did you explain to him that I had been sexually assaulted? That I'm very sorry that I've disturbed him, but I had no sleep that night because of Wally then giving me an ultimatum. He said to me, he's lying. He said that PC Craft, I've got her badge number if you want it. She he's saying that she said put her in the basement. I don't believe that. And then to say to me, if I to threaten me that if I don't take that room, then we don't want you here. I'm paying for this. This is my choice. You don't move someone from floor one to floor two when you know that they've that they're struggling going up and down the stairs with the physical disability. It didn't make any sense. It's not a bigger room, but it has a bath. And then to say, well, now I've been sexually assaulted, you take the room downstairs or we don't want you here. Now he's saying to me, we're fully booked. Me and Tanya, the Beachy head chaplain, are saying he is lying because it's fully booked. I mean, sorry, it's not peak season, it's February. And more to the point, he knows that I need to stay here for um a longer term, that I am a long-term guest. That's the whole reason why he took my things into storage on the Friday before this incident took place. So, you know, so anyway, what then happened was after I spoke to the woman in the MP office, I then went threw on some dirty clothes in a heightened state of distress. I knew that I was going to go up to Beachy Head. I knew I was going to do that at that point. Filthy dirty, went hair in all over the place. I went down to the MP office, rang on the doorbell. She couldn't wait to get off the phone, you see, and she had to go. So I said, but I've just, you know, so I left a voice message saying, that I was in this state of distress, that, I cannot physically, this is just insane. This is just, this is evil. This is exploitation. So anyway, I went down to the police desk for a second time. I'd already gone there because what had happened was I had already gone down to the police desk to see Tracy again. She said I can bring police officers out to you. And the reason why she brought a second lot out to me was because of how I'm being persecuted. In fact, hang on a minute. Do you know what? This is causing me so much. I can't remember which day it was, in what order, but at some point I had two lots of police officers come out to me after PC Craft took the report. The two police officers had given me a complaints procedure because I recorded this Jason. Twice I was put through to a Jason on 101 who said I haven't been sexually harassed. Am I reporting anything new? And all this robotic sort of talk. It's just hell on earth. This is hell on earth. It's like, why bother putting yourself through even reporting anything? So the whole reason why the two police officers that had come out to me after PC Craft they said, well, you did say that you didn't want to. I said, no, I know. There's no evidence. It's not going to go to court. That's not why you're here. You're here because of how I'm now being treated by police call handlers and Waleed. And he has been inappropriate. But I didn't want to say anything to him. He just said one thing that, and then he said that thing about, oh, well, he felt something, so it's okay for him to touch my bottom. In other words, the hotel guest. You know, do you know something, you and something I also forgot to say when I first went downstairs to report the incident. Um, Wally did ironically ask me if it was Darren that had sexually assaulted me. So the irony is that Darren was saying, no, that's not. I said, can you tell Wally that this is not appropriate to say to me, that the hotel guest obviously felt something. He had stirrings in his, you know, anyway. These were teenage lads, by the way, that I caught smoking that funny stuff, cannabis. I mean, I don't take drugs, but I now know what cannabis smells like because I smell it all the time. I could when I went out to when I went across the road last night to the Hadley Hotel, they the I could you could smell it in the air. It's anyway. Anyway, sorry. So getting back to what I'm saying. So I went down to the police desk for a second time to speak to Tracy, in a heightened state. This was after I had spoken to your colleague, who takes calls at the MP office. I'd gone down there, ringing on the buzzer, in a heightened state, dirty clothes, just thinking, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Um, and oh God. So I spoke to Tracy, and I told her that I was in a heightened state at this point. Heightened, when you've just been provoked into this. It's a perpetual state. I'm carrying. Oh, everybody knows that Bryony is carrying so much stress. What can we do to make things better? I'll tell you what we'd do. We'd do something else to cause her alarm, Harry. We'd do another thing just to put. So I'll tell you what they then did to me. So there I am talking to Tracy. This is the same Tracy who used to be a PCSO, who's seen me in distress many times over the years. She's the one I took the injunction order to over this landlady. She's the same one who told me to go to Josh Burundi with the injunction order. They're then all going up to Tracy and saying, "Are you all right, Tracy? Are you all right?" I said, "Why are you asking if she's all right? I'm not attacking anybody. I'm in a heightened state of distress." So even now I'm raising my voice. So a member of the public came in, and he said, and I was aware that obviously I was being very loud, and he said, "Look, excuse me, I can't hear myself talk. Do you mind?" And I said, look, with all due respect, and I turned to him, I said, I'm a victim of corruption. This is a police station. This is a place where people come when they are distressed. I'm a victim of their corruption, their crimes, and I didn't say sexual assault, but this is exploitation. So I thought I tried not to engage too much with this member of the public, but he was getting angry and upset. So, the staff are then going to Tracy, "Are you all right?" They're all, "Are you all right, Tracy?" Oh, the women, "Are you all right?" This is pathetic. I said, "Look, I'm not having a go at you. I'm in distress." Okay. Oh, anyway, so I said, "Look, my mouth is really dry. Could I please have some water because my mouth is really dry?" She said, "Yes, I'll get you some water." I said, "Look, I'm going to go and sit over there." But I said I had to go back up to the desk because I didn't want to shout because I can't hear. I don't know if they can't hear me from over there. So I went. So I'm having to kneel on the floor because I'm 6 foot tall and the desk is only about, well, it's almost what, half a meter off the. I said I'm not a dwarf. I don't know what the PC word for that is, but I said I'm not a dwarf. I'm a 6 foot tall and I'm having to kneel on the floor here. I said, look, why don't you take me into a quiet room where I can talk to you? Because this person next to me is getting cross. Then they bring in about three, then I can see them, 3 or 4 police officers coming in, and I can feel myself panicking. Let me just take a deep breath because I didn't even finish drink all my water because I was so, even at the time I sat down, I thought, I don't know what they're going to do to me. They'll do something. I'm not safe. I'm not safe. I'm scared. I don't know what's going to happen next, Ewan. I mean, crumbs! If they'll arrest you for burping. They'll arrest you for feeding the pigeons, like that video. Do you know? Do you know what? Jane didn't even believe me. Jane, not Jane, Claire. I spoke to the advocacy service, Trinity Trees. They were useless. Oh, don't. Everybody's just, nobody does anything. Jane, from Leaf Hall, she, just a second. She didn't even believe me about the woman that was arrested in London for feeding the pigeons. Oh, you can't believe what you. I said, I've seen the videos. That's my therapy, is watching YouTube and seeing it's not just me, it's happening to other people in the country. She said to me, I said, I had to repeat to her again, tell her again what had happened to me when I was arrested over and threatened with prison. She said, why don't you contact your transgender your sister? I said, if you listen to what I've just said, I said that the desk sergeant threatened me with prison if I leave a card and flowers for her. That's why I think Darren is behind all of this. And then this causes arguments between me and Darren. Look, I wanted to tell you this. I was going to wait to tell you this. I want to contact this woman who works for Donald Trump, who is helping people in the UK into asylum for their free speech. Because look at me, I'm a refugee in my own bloody town. I can't count the number of times they've arrested me. So what I'm about to tell you, Ewan, is just another nail in the coffin, so to speak, because this is I was so frightened I had to sit still calmly, and I left a voice message for Alan. Alan is the man I told you about, whose father was a high-ranking Freemason who had to stop Princess Margaret. He was an interceptor uh, from marrying Peter Townsend. I thought it was Pete Townsend from the Who. I don't know these things, but anyway, he hasn't got back to me since then. But he doesn't want to get involved with the police because he knows. He said, I don't want to become a target myself. So, and yet he said he loves me as a friend. Yeah, well, where are the friends that love you then? Do you know what I mean? Because even the police said they couldn't understand why Darren wasn't here protecting me. And this, right, so this was their response to me down at the police desk. I'm in a heightened state. They come in, that 2 of them come in, then 2 more come in, and I thought, calm down, Bryony, just because they want you to react. They want to find a false reason to arrest me. I said, why are you here? You're causing me alarm and distress because we need to ascertain, whatever the word is, whether a crime has been committed. So I can't even be distressed now. They said that my distress was causing a breach of the peace. Yeah, so I'm a rape victim who's been sexually assaulted. I'm distressed, and that distress is a breach of the peace. Ewan, how can anybody function in this society? I want to talk to Donald Trump, which is quite ironic because I've read an article that, I mean, even what's the name down at Leaf Hall said, oh, he said something about grabbing a woman's pussy. Well, I've read an online article in the Mirror saying his late wife said that he raped her, and people have been saying he sexually assaulted her. And yet, do you know what? I'm putting that to one side. I'm a rape victim, but I want to talk to this man because I'm telling you, I'm done with all of this. I am done. I can't, I'm scared. I'm not, listen to me, I am not going to be bullied out of Eastbourne. It is not going to happen. Someone harassed me on my Facebook wall, um, saying, well, actually, I thought it was a bit weird that they were responding to my partner saying, you've got to get her out of Eastbourne. I don't know who this was. It was a troll. I hardly ever go on Facebook. I've only recently started documenting, um, after a few months, what has been happening to me. I've now got a warning for the first time ever on my YouTube channel and on my Facebook, and yet I've got all this criminal evidence. Still to date, Mr. Burundi has not told me why he was a victim of my YouTube channel. I had never met the man before. I'm traumatized. I went up to him and I said, Mr. Burundi, he said, you're Bryony, aren't you? I said, how do you know my name? I was so angry I couldn't get the words out. He'd ignored my online application when he was counsellor OBE. I had evidence of me being attacked at Belmore Road. It's on my YouTube channel. I'd had my bedroom window smashed. I don't have a smartphone. I used my laptop to film it. Well, not to film. I didn't film someone smashing my window. I used the lap. No, I used my camera. The landlady's got my camera along with my possessions. My The rest of my possessions, I should say. My camera, I use my camera. I don't have a smartphone to film in shorts of what was the smashed bedroom window, but I used my laptop to film police doing nothing when a drunk had some drunk woman had banged on my door and left blood on it, and someone was watching live in America in the early hours and actually said, why is no one doing anything? I thought our cops were useless. Your cops don't do anything. And I said, no, they keep arresting me. You don't run away from your problems as a victim of crime. I'm not the coward. The cowards are the ones who are persecuting me, Ewan. And this is why I wanted to ask Mr. Burundi. I'm trying not to say Josh because I don't think it's professional if I say Josh. I say Mr. Burundi. I Yeah. So yeah, thank you. Um, yeah, no, I used to say Josh, and I didn't feel comfortable saying that because he's not Joe Bloggs. He's Mr. Burundi, the local MP. Now, I wanted to ask you. I've still to date never spoken to him before. I've just had that one encounter, and then I stood right next to him outside the meeting, bursting at the seams before I spoke to you last month. And and I'm still bursting at the seams, but I'm trying to find a way to handle this because I want an explanation as to what he meant by he was a victim of my YouTube channel because I've had bullying and threats. I still haven't read my response from the Charity Commission. I there was the Trudy, the CEO of Warming Up the Homeless, threatened me. Another woman threatened to sue me just because I'd mentioned her being rude to me on my YouTube channel. I don't understand people's behaviour. Even that paranoid woman on the desk in A&E. You know my name. I said, I don't know your name. I said, do you think it's normal that I was locked out of my supported flat scam on news my father died, and then I'm beaten by the police all night in A&E? But don't worry, I was in the right place to get an X-ray, for crying out loud. You know, I am. This is this is what you get for being a nice lady, a decent. I mean, even even Alan described me as a lady, a true lady. I said, do tell Josh Burundi that then, because if he's got all these friends that are lords and ladies, well, do pass that on then, because I'm being treated worse than scum. The council, the police, and BHT, all of whom were at that meeting, who are complicit in putting me through this. Do you know why the duty solicitors for BHT decided not to help me make a counterclaim against the landlady? I'll tell you why. Because it was their BHT support workers that got me in rent arrears when their support worker opened a case and then closed it. And then I had to find another support worker. But by then, I was being bullied and harassed by a demented school teacher tenant, the elderly man, both of whom hated each other. The teacher racially attacked me, called Darren a cunt. When I say racially, she called me racist. She's black. I've never said anything to her. It was the elderly tenant who called her what did he call her? Referred to her as, I don't know, Cocoa Pop or something. And yet these two that hated each other were like children in a playground. I've never known so much mental illness in all my life. And the landlady, who's supposedly an elderly retired hospital matron, the sort of person you think you might be safe with, pure evil. I warned her not to lock me out. I put a shelter notice on my door warning her, if you continue this, if you lock me out, you're committing a crime. She even had the audacity to tell District Judge Harper, well, you'll have to send me to prison. And Mr. Holden said she went back to her second home in Malta. Her second home in Malta. This woman is so obviously, this evil woman is so unhappy in herself that she has got to push someone who she wanted to help her write a book with, and knows that I don't even know how my father died. I haven't found out how my father died. These lunatics. And no, law enforcement did nothing about that. Now that I've reported sexual assault, which I myself have dumbed down to the police, I'm the problem. I'm once again the problem. Oh, she's distressed. Oh, that's a breach of the peace. They're literally killing me. This is why I lost blood. I've never had a physical disability in my life. And I am trying not to end up. Sorry to raise my voice to you, Ewan. Please forgive me. Please forgive me for raising my voice, but I said this is going to get very emotional. I am trying not to end up with cancer myself, because that social worker landlord who was meant to help me when my own mother was dying of cancer said to me that I knew too much and that I might want to check I haven't got cancer. Right this second, I am worried about my physical health because of all this narcissistic abuse. This toxic cesspit of a country. I've never known so much demented behaviour, psychopathy, and just utter toxicity in all my life. And it's no wonder there are so many people that have got dementia outside. Oh, that reminds me, Ewan. That reminds me. That reminds me. You know the elderly man Terry who said to you, we went down to the office, that elderly man from Weatherspoons who along with myself, was threatened with police by Dr. Carrow when we merely said, "Would you contact Ewan Morrison?" Well, that same gentleman who said to you on my behalf we're supposed to live in a democracy, I'll tell you where he is now. This is why I was very worried about putting too much stress on him. I went into Weatherspoons in a suicidal state. There's a man with a moustache in there who's sitting there, and I said, "Excuse me, do you know where Terry is?" He said, "Oh, he was found wandering the streets and he's now in a home." So I knew that he had his own mental health issues, but he was still managed to string the words together to articulate himself to you on my behalf. Because that video of me that I used my laptop, because I don't have a smartphone, to film what the police did to me at the Strand Hotel. I would like to. I rang Terry in distress. He had reported me missing to the police. And what did they do? 24 hours later, grabbing me, 2 police cars and a van, a whole lot of them bursting in on me like a bunch of Nazis because I won't call my sister a man. And as you know, her support workers had sworn at me in Weatherspoons. Excuse me, I've been trying to find someone to mediate, a professional mediator, since my mother died in 2009. I haven't been to her flat since my mother died in 2009. And I'm being told if I leave a card and flowers for my sister at my late mother's flat where she lives, I'll go to prison. So, um, if that flat is sold, the money is meant to be split between us, and I'm fine with her living in there. We didn't go through my mother's things, but they've also gone through my father's things without me. We did go through my mother's things, but we were meant to go through the rest of my mother's things, me and Bronya. And because I'm refusing to call Bronya a man, and this Blade name, um, I I'm my free speech. So I want to send that. I just thought I might tell you. I would like Donald Trump and his whoever it is that works for him. This lady. I need to find out who she is. Uh, I'd like them to see that because I really am. I'm not mincing my words. I'm not being dramatic. I'm still feeling like I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. I can't move out of this hotel room on Saturday. I've just been bullied by Walid, mocking me with that young lad behind him and laughing um, and even called out to me, "Bye bye, see you out of here on Saturday." He's Lebanese. And the young lad behind him doesn't speak English, but he understood what I was saying just before you phoned me when I said I've got someone very important who's going to phone me, and me and another hotel guest keep asking where's the manager. Because Walid was saying one of the things that Walid said to me yesterday that doesn't make any sense. He's a liar, and Tanya, the Beachy head chaplain, knows that he's lying. He's lied. He said, talk to the police. I don't want to talk to the police. I want to talk to the manager. Manager that doesn't have a phone number. Manager has no phone number. He doesn't want to talk to you. And that was just after he just said, "I don't have a problem with you." I said, "You're not making any sense. You're saying the police have told you not to speak to me, but you don't have a problem with me, and yet your manager doesn't have a phone number and he doesn't want to talk to me. You're not making any sense." So this young lad that does speak a bit of English does understand what I'm saying. That's why he was laughing. That's why the pair of them were laughing. This young lad upstairs, I said, I said, "This person that is going to phone me, i.e. yourself, Ewan, I would like him to both of us to be able to speak to the manager. He said, Walid is the manager. No, Walid's manager. I said, either there's a manager or there's a phantom. It sounds like he's making it up. It doesn't sound like the manager exists at this point. Because how can someone I've never met not want to see me? Yet Walid is saying he doesn't have a problem with me. You take the room downstairs. Look, they're all playing games here. They're playing games with my. This is not even a life. This is an existence. I am trying to get a life. I am fighting this crime and corruption, and no one has the balls or the gumption to even do what the district judge, what the law. I mean, Walid said go to the council. They're saying go to the council. The council can help. I'm not even going to go there. I've said the council. Mr. Holden, who is being investigated over his lies, abuse, and corruption, just like this director. Excuse me. Excuse me, sorry. Mr. Holden was going to help me make a subsequent civil claim against the council for locking me out of the SDR living flat on news that my father had died. And they're still not acting by law for me with this landlady. So I'm like, I'm not going to keep repeating myself to people. You either help me or you don't. This is now exploitation. This is exploitation. Well, it always has been exploitation. But I can't do this anymore, Ewan. I can't do, if the law isn't acting for me, I can't keep moving. Those police thugs wanted to find a reason to arrest me for a breach of the peace just because I'm distressed as a victim of a crime. And I'm telling them everything that they've done to me, and they're just sitting. One of the officers was PC Williamson, who was there in A&E after I'd been locked out of my supported flat, that Mr. Holden was going to help me sue the council for what they've. This is the whole reason why why I've got you, Ewan, because I've given all the problems to you. I've handed it all to you. Said that's it. Stuart Leach. They've sold my garage that I pay for storage at Rockhurst Drive. It didn't. Just to let you know, I didn't actually make this clear to you, Ewan. The whole garage was full to the brim, to the top with stuff. The whole garage. It had my bed in there. It had a valuable item, But I've been living with OCD for just over 20 years in clutter, and that's what Darren walked into. That is what he walked into in that flat. So I had scrapbooks from my childhood, childhood scrapbooks and valuable things and photograph albums and all that kind of thing, as well as stuff and a bed. But it's full to the top. It was Barclays that told me that the garage had been sold, and then I've got SDR Live. I'm in arrears paying for storage. My late father's inheritance has gone on the hotels. You've got all these fake support services. Nothing's fit for purpose. I've been through the entire system. I've seen and I've been to everywhere and everyone and everything. Don't then say to me that they've already tried to bully me out of Eastbourne. And it didn't go to plan, did it? No. They had me locked out of my SDR living flat. That Andrew, all these criminal housing officers like John Tutty, who typed up that fraudulent Section 184, he's the reason I haven't got. When I complained about leaks and broken utilities at 44 Cavendish Place, the mother and daughter, the evil mother and daughter, Karen and Felicity, They locked me out when it had started to snow in February 2018. I'd spent ages polishing photographs. A photograph I had printed, color printed, of my grandmother in 1912. A beautiful picture of her as a child with her siblings. I'd polished it up. I'd spent a long time. I've got OCD. I had dust mites in that room. And next door to me, I had the Filipino couple who were on steroids because of bed bugs. I didn't know there were bed bugs in there. She showed me the sores on her body. There were everything that I complained about. The plumber was on my side. The plumber said the washer on the tap had gone. It's not your fault. The place is falling apart. They wouldn't even fix the heating. They are exploiting us. All these landlords that are making, and apparently they're making a lot of money out of the asylum seekers. I've recently learned that. Yeah, but the indigenous people like me and Joe Bloggs, who had to go and sleep in his car, come all the way from Kent. I mean, I didn't say anything about that until now. I kept my mouth shut. Yeah, you. Oh, okay. Can I just interject?
Let's just go summarise what I can do for you going from here. So, I've been making notes as we've been talking. I think that there's two key things that I'd like to do. You mentioned earlier that you'd obviously been in contact with Natalie from the crisis team and Mark Stainton in adult social care, and we haven't had any sort of real answers, and despite all the times the ambulance workers, etc., have been out. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to follow up with them again, and I'll do that. What if I can? I'll need to go in the next 5 minutes. So what I'll do is I'll follow up with them just in the next 5 minutes to sort of explain what you've told me about today. And I will also mention, obviously, the stress you've been in recently, going to BEACHY and all the events surrounding the sexual assault.
Could I?
What I do is
Yeah, sorry.
that, and then we maybe take it from there. So that would work for you.
Yeah, because the thing is, you and listen, I'm telling you, and I'm being deadly serious. He wants me out of here on Saturday morning. I cannot physically do that. It's my physical disability. I cannot physically do that. How did I get to Beachy Head? In a taxi. This Saturday by 11 a.m. I cannot do that. They are lying. Me and the Beachy Head chaplain know that this man is lying. This is exploitation. This is just abuse and exploitation. I cannot. You do not take someone. There's someone below me who is living in the hotel because they go to work in the morning. So they took me. They've taken. I'm paying weekly. They said, did I want to pay monthly? The day that I was assaulted, they're making this clear. He moved me from the first floor to the second floor and put a fridge in here, a standard size fridge, not a mini fridge. And last Friday he took my things into storage. Then I was assaulted. Then all of this, and then they suddenly don't want me. They're saying that they're fully booked. That's a lie, because he took things of mine into storage last Friday. And I've also ordered things that I'm trying to replace through the landlady. I've been replacing some things. I've had some things sent to the hotel. A few bits and pieces, and it will take a couple of months to receive one or two of things that I've had sent here, because I'm replacing. I'm still chasing. I'm still reporting the theft. that this landlady has stolen my valuables as part of it all. See, I wanted to talk to you about all of that, but I haven't been able to because of everything that's just happened. So I'm in crisis right now. I'm tearing my hair out. Well, not literally, but you know what I mean. This is literally killing me. Well, I treat this as a form of manslaughter because I'm not showing it. I'm hiding it. I'm disassociating, but I still feel like going up to Beachy Head and doing myself in because I said several times I've told them the horror stories. I've told the two chaplains last night in the chaplaincy hut. I've told them what I've been through with Sussex. I told them that I recorded the ward review where, because again, I know when someone's going to lie to me now. The Dr. Naliwala was going to help me find somewhere more permanent that I could stay in the hospital, and then I recorded Jackie, the ward manageress, who then left probably because of me, threatening me with police. Because I then said I am recording this. They didn't realise I had, because I don't have a smartphone. I have a very, very cheap phone, and I managed to use the phone to record that, put it onto my dictaphone, and she was threatening me with police. And guess what happened? I was handcuffed in my hospital pajamas. So after that's illegal. You can't do that. But that's exactly what happened. So they're trying to disappear John Alexander Patterson from the Royal Commission. He was arrested. He was put in prison after being sectioned, and they're torturing me as well. So I'm being lied to left, right, and centre. And I said I'd be safer dead. I said I'd be safer dead. I said in the next 24 to 48 hours, don't be surprised. I didn't speak to them in this tone, by the way. When I get very upset, I say, look, this is not me having a go at you. This is me distressed. And I said to Tanya, the Beachy Head chaplain, I said, I really like you. I made that clear. I felt she seemed to be the one person who really was getting it. I could just tell that she was engaged and listening and understood. That's why she walked up to the paramedics and she said she's going to be back up here, because they didn't want to, they just wanted to get me back down to the hotel again. So they got me speaking to the blue light thing in the chaplaincy hut. Now last night they for a third lot of paramedics, I'm then speaking to the blue light, and this Natalie didn't even want to know about the sexual assault, and I've spoken to her many times. So they don't care. They simply do not care, Ewan. I wanted to talk to you about all the things that I did want to talk to you about. I can't talk about now because I've been speaking to you for probably over an hour now about about what's just happened, because I have now been triggered. I haven't been up Beachy Head for probably years in this state, for years. I can't remember the last time I went up Beachy Head. I took a taxi up there because I can't physically keep climbing. It feels like you're climbing a mountain when you go up the scenic route up when you walk up there. It's like climbing a mountain. So I got a taxi up there. One of the taxis didn't want to take me because they've got to have rules about if they think someone is distressed and all that. But I'd already said this to your one of the call handlers at the MP office, that I said, look, and I even said it to what's his name from adult social care. So I've had adult social care, Mark from adult social care. I've had what's the name from some call handler from victim support, who was more interested in the wrong words I'm using about the transgender thing, not concerned about my disability, not concerned about me Although I'm very worried about my sister. No, they're more concerned about, are you using the wrong language? Never mind the fact that they're freaking pushing me to suicide. They are. Sorry, I'm getting very emotional talking about this, but you appreciate I'm
I
obviously.
do, and I think, obviously we talked for a while now, Brady, and I don't want to tell you that anymore. Sounds like it's been a really tough few days for you, a tough week or so for you in particular, tougher than even normal.
Yes, thank
What we'll
you.
do is let me write up because I do need to go now.
All
Let me
right.
write this up, speak to our social care, okay? And as soon as I've got something I hear back from them, I'll let you know. They might get in touch with you before they get back in touch with me. That's
But
what we
Ewan,
do sometimes.
Ewan,
So
yeah.
I'll make sure that they're aware of this.
But Ewan, I'm making it very clear to you now. I'm making it very clear to you. I cannot, listen, I cannot physically move out of here on Saturday. I cannot. I cannot physically do this anymore. I'm they're taking the you know what. I cannot physically keep doing this. I've been in other hotels. I've been abused. I was at the Strand Hotel. You say that the other hotels aren't used for illegal immigrants. I get that. But the hotel, the one that was on GB News for illegal immigrants, was the hotel that the police horrifically came and beat me. And that Philip on the desk was, he threatened me. He was abusive when I was in distress. That I'd received a 5-page anonymous poison pen letter. I think it. I even wondered if it might be my sister, because my eldest sister, only she calls me Bam. But it was disgusting. It was sexually explicit, describing my breasts, talking about Darren in ways that I don't want to say. It was disgusting. Talking about this Alan that I told you about. Oh, just weird, stuff. Saying stuff about my father. My father, he was a blue light was a, what do you call it, a something worker. What do you call it? Yeah, what, blue collar. I thought I. No, he wasn't. He wasn't. I know. Even on my birth certificate, he was a London bus driver, and he was also a booking clerk. I don't know what that is. That's on my birth certificate. But anyway, it's neither here nor there. Can I just want to also interject. I know it's not important. Well, I say it's not important. What you say the government said. Why did that woman on GB News say that even in New Haven, that Eastbourne and New Haven, 30% of the hotels are used for illegal immigrants? I don't know about that.
I don't know. I can't say. I didn't watch TV News the day that you saw that. I don't know if it's old data.
This was a few months ago.
The spreadsheet every 3 or 4 months, and it summarises where all the asylum seekers and also kind of the success rate.
Okay. Oh, I don't know.
No hotels have hosted it. There was some overcoming, but certainly since no hotels have hosted any asylum seekers, and in the time there's very few asylum seekers, many of which are actually sustaining themselves. Any money they country that they're staying with. So no hotels in Eastbourne are used anymore. So they haven't been for a couple of years. So
Well, I can't understand why. Well, why did? Well, no, what?
I was looking at the spreadsheet today because
Hmm.
I had an email asking what the numbers were because it's on the news today about the figures in terms of how many people had moved to the UK over the last few months, and in terms of this, there's been a reduction
This was only,
but I can assure you
but this was only,
again
yeah.
that there are another accounts, and I don't know about New Haven. I didn't look up New Haven because obviously I'm only working in Eastbourne, but certainly Eastbourne has SNM also figures in anything else.
Well, this was only last summer. This wasn't a long time ago. This was only last summer that this woman said.
And I did
So
actually compare the figures from December and June of last year, and there were some asylum seekers, and that'll be people from all over. That'll include people from places like Albania or other countries in Europe, for example, as well as people from the countries that that maybe have a larger number of applications, like Syria
yeah,
or
countries where there are no wars. Countries where there are no wars. Hmm. Hmm.
And
Hmm.
certainly the numbers, even in the summer in Eastbourne, I think it's actually dropped by there's about 9 or 10 less asylum seekers in Eastbourne. So that number's been coming down every time the government's released statistics. And as I said, it's certainly been for a few years that there haven't been any in any hotels. As I said, you can have a look on if you go to the Home Office's website, you can have a
Hmm.
look through some of the spreadsheets if you wanted to.
Well,
Eastbourne has.
Well, I tell you what, regardless of I mean, I know GB News is controlled opposition. I only know what I know, and when I see footage of people coming in on dinghies, I I get angry about legal immigration. I mean, over 20 years ago, I said to my late mother when I was living at home, when I had a home, I said that I was talking about indigenous people. I said there are just too many people in the country, and she agreed with me. And now more than ever in my I've never ever wanted not to be in this country before. Not like this. I wish she had stayed at sea because she had a wonderful life at sea in New Zealand, in Canada, in America in the 50s and 60s. She's come back here and I consider myself to be a refugee in my homeland. This hotel, I was, like I told you, I was here in 2019 for the sake of sweet sanity, just to have a bath and close the world out. I was following John Alexander Patterson online, and then the member of staff that's still here now said we're closing the hotel to house asylum seekers. And I thought, wow, well, that's the first time I've seen
That
it.
might be, so yeah, over the period of COVID, it would have been 2019, 2020,
Yeah.
in one area. That's when some people were hosted in hotels. But certainly for the last,
Yes.
four or
And
five
why do you
years,
think?
there's been virtually none.
But that's why the whole convid thing, I was never brainwashed by it because I could see what was really going on. I was in the thick of it, and I was told in the psychiatric unit because this is like I feel like I have been human trafficked, if you like. If you like, by the council and the police, because I was in the psychiatric unit in Worthing. There was a woman who was being housed in there. She said I don't suffer with mental health. She said I have what do you call it? When you have episodes of it's a physical disease. What's it called? I've forgotten what it's called. The one where you oh, I've forgotten the name of it, but it's a physical health condition. And she said the council are housing me in the psychiatric unit. Do you know what? They wouldn't let me out of my room. They would not let me out of my room unless I took a PCR test. That thing that you put up the nose. Those things have been proven to be that some of them were contaminated, and I was basically being tortured. It's more like a it is more I have been to Auschwitz. I went to Auschwitz in 1998, and that's what comes to mind when I see how I've been treated at a local level when all I wanted, all I ever asked for was basic support in the community. I could have got a child to help me.
That's what I'll make sure I speak to the social care. I really do need to go right.
Yes, no, I understand.
The alarm needs to be set, so
Okay.
I have to do it by a certain time. So
Okay.
call there, but I need to manage
Okay.
to speak to each other and don't
Thank
worry about
you.
the issues with the phone and such.
Thank you.
I'll speak to the social care and I'll get back to you,
You and
once I've got some news, okay?
okay, thank you. Can you make it? I will send you an email when I feel I can physically do that. But I am filthy dirty. I'm still in distress, and I'm telling you, please make it clear. I, in fact, actually, I cannot move out of here on Saturday morning. I cannot move out of here on Saturday morning. I cannot. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye. Thank you. Bye. 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 Oh, oh. Because I just, it is a case of where and when can I actually relax? When is that day going to come? When, because if you're being triggered all the time by these, mental health is being weaponized, and lots of people have said that's what they're doing to people. They're weaponizing mental health. It is satanic. Let's just call a spade a spade. These MK Ultra victim survivors that have spoken to Sean Atwood, you just can't believe what you're hearing. And I was telling the Beachy head chaplain this, it's like people having their children having their organs removed from their body whilst they're screaming in agony. This is in America, and they've got the Baphomet. She said, I remember the goat, the idol, the goat head Baphomet thing, this idol that they sacrifice and do evil things, unthinkable things. She had to be careful with the words that she used because it is the stuff of gory horror films. Now, I was explaining to the Beachy head chaplain that the LGBT agenda is also actually called the Baphomet agenda. It's actually called that. It's not me just saying that. Because of this half man, half woman thing, ideology thing. So they like the institutions like to use satanic Luciferian names like Saturn, Saturnalia, the Saturn Rape Victim Centre, which is where I went. So there we go. I can't move out of here on Saturday, and I've made that clear. I cannot physically move out of here. So this is a 2-hour video. I don't want you to be upset with me for if I publish this, because I'm genuinely thinking I don't want to go on. I really don't want to do this anymore. I really don't. I can't. I physically and mentally can't. And when you're on your own with all of this, so I don't actually, right now, I don't know what to do because this has thrown me. This has actually mentally and physically thrown me. I'm too scared to, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I'm being persecuted. So this is the point that I made. So I'm filthy dirty. I've got a dirty bed, and I'm now in a very, very distressed state. I'm not gonna lie, I do still feel like I could go and do myself in, because I can't rely on my MP caseworker, because he didn't get back to me for a whole year for one thing, and I'm frightened. I've sent distressing text messages to the Beachy head chaplains, to this Tanya in capitals, saying, "Can you pass this on to her?" They're taking the mickey. The crisis team don't want to know about a sexual assault. Well, it was no big deal. It was just a touch on the bottom, but that's not the point. I'm being exploited. So even when he gives me government figures, it doesn't matter. I appreciate him giving me the figures for these things. He's saying that that woman from New Haven who said on GB News that 30% of the hotels are used for illegal immigrants in both Eastbourne and New Haven, he's saying that's not true. He said, but I said this was only last summer. He said it hasn't been like that for some time. Well, at the end of the day, whatever. This hotel, the member of staff that's still here, said to me in 2019 they were closing the hotel and using the hotel for. They should be. Do you know what? For years, people used to say to me, "You're the wrong colour," and I didn't understand what they meant. I had a flat, a private rented flat that I was struggling in with the OCD and the leaks and the problems, etc., and I just couldn't cope. And they said, people used to say to me when I said, "Oh, I'm going to the council for help," and a taxi driver or Joe Blogs, several people, even that vile old man in that house share where the landlady has been told she could be sent to prison, even that horrible old man said to me, "You're the wrong colour." And yet he referred to the school teacher tenant as Cocoa Pop, and she called me racist. So I have been harassed, attacked, racially attacked. I've got a hate crime by an A&A contractor where he's calling me an effing spastic. I mean, a police officer arrested someone in Scotland. I don't know if I've told you in that. He's Scottish. Uh, uh, for calling the police officer an effing spastic. What about me? What about me? I've got the recording. But Mr. Burundi, our local MP, he played victim. Why did he play victim? I'd never met the man before. So there's a lot that doesn't make any sense. And the thing that gets me is that there's only one consistency throughout all of this, and that is lies. And I'm the one being transparent. I'm the only one telling the truth. So I really wanted to talk to my MP caseworker today. I can't say that I won't be up there trying to do myself in. I cannot leave this hotel room on Saturday. I want him to speak to the hotel. I should have. It's so hard to get hold of people. It's so hard. It's practically impossible to get hold. It's the fact that I've spoken to him. I don't want. I'm being deadly serious. So at least it's out there. At least it's out there because I'm done. I'm done.